respond to the invitation to visit China, the U.S. immediately imposed 2 sanctions on China. In response, China turned the tables. So, what were the 2 sanctions the U.S. imposed on China this time? And how did China respond to the U.S.?
Hello everyone, I'm Quan. Welcome to Global Express.
It's been 12 days since Trump signaled his willingness to fly directly to Beijing, yet China has not responded to this at all. There's been no arrangement for a hotline, and not a single word has been mentioned about it in public. Clearly, China has given Trump's desire to visit a cold shoulder. The reason isn't complicated. Recently, the Trump administration has once again taken action in the area of tariffs, making already tense China-US relations even worse. Although both sides managed to pull things back to square one through tariff negotiations, there is still a truce period of over 70 days at present. And up until now, Trump has not shown any genuine willingness to have a sincere dialogue with China. Not only that, the US has even launched 2 rounds of sanctions in a row. First, in the areas of aviation and semiconductor exports, the New York Times revealed on the 28th that the US government has already suspended exports of several key technologies to China, focusing on jet engines, semiconductors, and certain chemical materials. The U.S. Department of Commerce has even directly halted the export of core technologies and products used by COMAC for the development of the C-919 large aircraft. Analysts believe this move signals dissatisfaction with China's lack of response to the visit invitation and retaliation against China's rare earth export controls. Previously, China imposed export controls on key minerals like rare earths and graphite, which made the U.S. uncomfortable. The U.S. responded by restricting high-tech product exports. China's Ministry of Commerce immediately responded, stating the U.S. is abusing export control measures and suppressing Chinese companies under unfounded pretexts. This is a serious disruption to the global industrial chain and damages normal cooperation between Chinese and American companies. China warned that, if necessary, it will take resolute measures to safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese enterprises. In terms of actual effect, the U.S. move to suspend exports seems more like an act of self-harm. After all, in the semiconductor sector, it's not just Chinese companies that are affected. Many American companies have numerous orders from the Chinese market. For example, the chip design software industry is highly dependent on Chinese clients. If cooperation is terminated, it may accelerate China's pace of domestic substitution. On the contrary, it will spur China to push forward with independent R&D. This round of restrictions also involves the C-919 large aircraft project, a key strategic project for COMAC. The U.S. provided critical technologies, but now, by pulling out, it will force China to accelerate independent R&D. The second sanction is more politically charged. U.S. Secretary of State Rubio posted online that the Trump administration will harshly revoke Chinese students' visas, especially those connected to the Chinese government or studying sensitive majors. The implication is clear: to restrict the inflow of high-tech talent. It shocked the American education sector. According to the 2024 Open Doors report released by the Institute of International Education in the U.S., China is the second largest source of international students in the country, with about 277,000 students, second only to India. However, the number of Chinese students has already dropped by 4.2% year-on-year, while the number of Indian students has surged by 23%. This brings up another real issue. Restricting Chinese students not only fails to hurt China, but will actually make things even worse for American universities. Data shows that Chinese international students bring billions of dollars in economic revenue to the U.S. every year, not only supporting the efficient operation of universities, but also indirectly boosting local employment. Now, with the Trump administration cutting off funding on one hand and slashing the source of Chinese students on the other, American universities are full of complaints. In fact, since January this year, the Trump administration has already taken multiple actions against universities, first revoking the legal status of thousands of international students and forcing some of them to leave the country. After that, they revoked Harvard University's qualification to enroll international students, intending to completely sever Harvard's ties with foreign students. More recently, there have even been reports that the U.S. government plans to fully disclose the list of foreign students at Harvard and limit the proportion of international students to 15%. This move directly triggered a strong backlash from universities. 16 U.S. states have joined to sue the federal government, accusing Trump of having no right to interfere with projects supported by the National Science Foundation, especially research programs enhancing technological diversity. Meanwhile, China has countered the U.S. on this issue. On the 29th, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning responded to the U.S. visa policy at a press conference, stating China firmly opposes this and has lodged representations with the U.S. The day before, Mao Ning also urged the U.S. to protect the legitimate rights and interests of international students from all countries, including Chinese students. While the U.S. continues to hype the cancellation of international student status at Harvard, China has quietly advanced education programs friendly toward China. According to reports, recently, China signed educational cooperation agreements with several Asian and African countries to expand the quota for international students coming to China. In the past, top students who mainly went to the US are now likely to turn to places like Singapore, the UK, and Hong Kong. While Trump is closing the door, China isn't following suit. Instead, it's opening up even more to other countries.